Hi everyone, we are here with Archaeology After Dark, special road trip edition, SEAC and back.
Hey everybody, this is Marsha Hawley. She's going to be my hands and the videographer for this episode because I am currently driving through downtown Atlanta and it's super dangerous to film and drive at the same time.
But here we are.
So, a little bit about SEAC. That's the acronym for the Southeastern Archaeological Conference. For those of you who haven't heard of it, think about something like Burning Man or Lollapalooza, only with less music and more people who like digging holes.
And Durham was a really lovely city.
Oh yeah, so we did a walking tour of Duke campus the day before the conference actually started.
AKA Isengard.
Yeah,
Duke is Isengard.
Yeah, it seriously looks like Isengard. For those of you who haven't seen Lord of the Rings, we can no longer be friends. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Facts.
Yeah, facts. And it was honestly one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever seen. Not that, you know, other college campuses don't have their charms, but wow. Just wow.
And honestly, Chapel Hill was also lovely. We visited both, and they were really gorgeous, but Duke was incredible. They had the Rose Garden and, like, the Botanical Garden.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
So, anyone from Duke University, if you're seeing this, feel free to, you know, send it to your university. Use it for recruiting. But make sure you tag the Alabama Archaeological Society. That, one more time, is the Alabama Archaeological Society. Thank you.
No works allowed.
So, where do you want to start?
I mean, first let's start with Durham and how great of a city it was. And the Marriott was like really awesome. I really enjoyed the venue. It was a really awesome layout, and I think that the organizers did a really fantastic job. I enjoyed the tent being outside. It was really chilly at first, but then once everybody got dancing, it was kind of nice.
Yeah, so that is one thing that this is my first time being here. A lot of the other people, they do this every year. There actually is a dance with live music. Everyone's, you know, cutting loose. They've been, you know, super stressed, giving presentations, making connections, all that, over a small, very small 3-day window, because there's only about 20 minutes between presentations, and we only get like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, or I would have, you know, shot some more footage while we were there. I actually had to run to different presentations to make sure I caught all of it.
And there were some really good presentations. Shout out to the Lower Mississippi Valley and
I would say the Marengo Complex folks, Dr. Ashley Dumas, Stephen Meredith, Jim Knight. These are our Alabama people. And if you guys haven't heard about the story coming out of Marengo County, I'm going to post it in the comment section or the description. Check it out. It's going to blow your mind. I'm going to be honest about that.
And Dr. Lineback and Tony Boudreaux and Charlie Cobb, the Mississippi folks were representing, and it was a really great symposium. So for anyone who hasn't been to SEAC, basically you have different organizers. They do different symposiums with different topics, and you bring all of the best into that category, and they give you like the latest and cutting edge research. There were some really good papers. The Marengo County, obviously, or the Marengo Complex.
Those are our people, so we really want to be proud of them.
And we're super proud of them. But also the Lower Mississippi Valley folks, shout out to Poverty Point. I did not introduce myself, but I am a UAB grad student at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and I also do an internship at Poverty Point in Louisiana. And there was a really great representation in Lower Mississippi Valley Symposium. Dr. Kidder did an amazing job. Also, shout out to JT and Shannon. Everybody did a really good job, and Seth did a really great job, along with Grace on the Jaketown site. So that was really awesome. And then, God, the Marengo Complex, that was incredible.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the beaver.
So to put that in context, we one of the presenters, that was Jim Knight.
Right.
Yeah.
And Dr. Lineback.
Yeah, Dr. Jim Knight, Dr. Lineback gave a presentation on how beavers actually influenced the landscape of parts of Marengo County and allowed the native population to change it to where they could actually grow food in a dry land area.
Yeah, and how it like adds to the soil nutrients and kind of makes a non-agricultural area
completely livable.
Right. And so that was a really cool paper. I enjoyed that one.
So one, I want to point out for those of you who are fans of the show, you've seen it before. Emily Jane Murray, if you've seen that episode, you know who she is. If you haven't, I really think you should check that one out.
She was incredible.
Yeah, she gave a really great lecture on 3D scanning and recreating artifacts in the field, and how that technology is helping us make strides in preservation so we can actually make replicas and 3D models of objects to present to students, college classes, whatever, and not risk, breaking said irreplaceable artifact.
Yeah, and I really liked how that presentation was really accessible. She really broke it down. Like, it doesn't matter how tech savvy you were, you could really figure out what she was getting at and use it in your research. And then who was the one that did the paper on something, and they put the QR code at the end so that you could go back and have access to their paper? Do you remember who that was? But that was really cool. I like that, and I definitely
So for those of you who are fans of this show, you know that I personally am a big fan of open source information. So we want you to share your information, make it accessible to other people without them having to jump through a bunch of red tape and stuff, so they can learn from it, and then you learn from their work also.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about most of the symposium. And one of the things I love about SEAC in general is, we're all here, we're all passionate about the same things. Some of us are in vastly different focuses, but we break it down enough to where everything can be so interesting. Like, there were a few Zoarc papers. I have zero understanding of Zoarc, nor have I ever worked with it, but there were some really interesting papers, and then some on waterways, the historic stuff. So you're more into the historic side of things than I am. So when I hear these things, I have a general knowledge, but I don't understand. But there was some really
Marcia
good
freaks out when you put an actual date on something.
I don't like it. I don't want the bones. I just want stones. Just give me the rock.
1864? What? 1864?
That's stressful. No. Give me radiocarbon or give me death.
No. Oh, speaking of that, later on this year, we are going to have an episode on radiocarbon dating, so be sure to stay tuned for that one.
Ooh, that's going to be good.
Yeah, that one's going to be really good.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So, aside from the actual presentations where you can actually move from room to room and watch different people talk about their different research backgrounds, topics, and things like that, there's also a poster competition where people, put their research or their work into an intricate poster and display it on, I'd say, an 8x10 poster board?
It's supposed to be 4x8, but
Some
not
people
everyone
don't
does
follow the
4x8.
assignment.
Well, some of us are really OCD about things, and we follow those directions to a T, and then we need to employ a whole state's worth of archaeological students to hang up the poster without it ripping in half.
It took 5 of us. 5. I'm counting 5. You see that? 5.
But you know what? Shout out University of West Alabama and Southern Miss. We represented and got my poster up, and thank you, and University of North Alabama as well. And we made it happen. So teamwork makes the dream work, and it was my first poster, but I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed talking to everyone. And so thank you for everyone who stopped by and gave me feedback or grilled me on the data, and I enjoyed that very much, and I appreciated it.
So normally, I know SEAC has had to do things differently because of COVID, but the poster thing used to be a competition, right?
It did a long time ago, before I started attending SEAC. Also, I just want to say, I didn't get to see everyone's poster, but shout out to Dr. Lambert and Gabe and all of the Mississippi State folks, because y'all are really great with your posters. I'm not supposed to use 4-letter words, right?
No
Okay.
4-letter words.
So it was a really great poster. They had it, they had the artifacts on the actual shelves, and then they had an interactive iPad mounted on the poster where you could
awesome.
go through. Yeah,
I missed that one.
Yeah, it was really awesome. So you get my vote, guys. Sorry. I love mine too. And also Autumn. Autumn was my poster neighbor, and Autumn Melby did a really great job with her Cahokia paper. And I enjoyed everyone that I did see, but I was not able to see everyone's, unfortunately. But you saw Meg Buchanan's paper or poster, right?
For those of you who are familiar with Meg Buchanan, she's an anthropology professor at Auburn University here in Alabama. She also serves as the Alabama Historical Commission representative for the Alabama Archaeological Society. So we definitely wanted to stop by, see her, talk to her about her research, how things are going at Auburn, what we can do to help, and how we can move things forward.
Yeah, and she's been really supportive of our efforts to kind of build up a student network within the Alabama Archaeological Society. And I know I talked to a good bit of you guys from Georgia, Florida, and Louisiana, and Mississippi as well, about trying to make this a group effort. And it seems like there's a lot of interest in making this happen. So just a little plug here. If you're interested in getting more students involved in your regional or state archaeological societies, we do have an initiative that we're working on for that, and it seems to be gaining a lot of traction. So we'd really love for anyone's feedback or any allies in that effort to try to make sure that we're making it accessible. We really want to reach out to our HBCUs, our community colleges, areas where archaeology isn't accessible. I know in Alabama particularly, we have a lot of avocationalists, and we need to make sure that we're working with people and making this field more accessible for the people that are actually doing the work or that need to be doing the work and represent their their regions appropriately.
Yeah, like I said, open source information, sharing the information, making everybody's work, we want you to be able to come to us, show your work, tell other people about it, and then you have something to show for show the work you've done. Sorry, there was a truck pulling in front of me, so I had to...
This is super safe.
...lose my focus for a second. This is super safe what we're doing. I do not at all advocate for filming your podcast while you're driving. It is... I'm going to go with the word dangerous, reckless, pick whatever word you like, that's fine.
But we've also been held hostage by Atlanta traffic for the past few hours. So
yes, we have been held hostage by the state of Georgia, and we can't condone that sort of thing.
These are the type of things that happen when you're tired of being in the car and you just have to truck through.
Yeah, so the part we hadn't mentioned, we drove up from Birmingham, Alabama, and to Durham. It was a solid 8-hour drive, give or take. And
Daniel got off work at 5:30. So
yeah.
Yours truly did her very best not to nap, but he is a trooper and a beast, and we got here there and safely. So.
Yeah, at a solid 5:30 in the morning. And
no big deal.
It was 5:30 in the morning, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not looking for the best driver in the world award or a NASCAR sponsorship. I might be looking for those things.
But you win.
Yeah, I definitely win. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we had a really good time, and we had a really great representation from students in Alabama, which were, kind of our first little group of student council group members. So we're basically working on an initiative to get students to come and travel in groups and attend these conferences and getting people excited about participating in the academic side of things. Like, we all totes want to be out there digging holes. I know I do.
Yeah.
But, our societies need to continue, as Dr. Dumas calls it, this is our lifeblood. We need to get our students involved. And if you don't, then we're going to dwindle, and these conferences are so much fun, and there's like a wealth of information that we get from them. So we need to start focusing on our students and how to make these safe, inclusive environments for everyone.
So just to be clear, you don't have to be presenting to go to these conferences. You can just be someone with enthusiasm and good intentions, and you can still go to this conference and still get something out of it.
Yeah, guys, take your notebook, students, aka new sources. That's basically what I love about the conferences. We're all writing papers. We all have, exams coming up. Take your notebook, take notes, cite these people, have conversations. You're reading the books of these people who are walking amongst you. Talk to them. Hey, what have you been doing at so-and-so? I was just reading. This is super interesting. If they have time, they will tell you. They may not have gotten around to writing this stuff down yet, but nonetheless, you can ask them, hey, I'm writing a paper. Do you mind if I quote you on that? And you basically have cutting edge research in your schoolwork. Get that A and move on.
One thing I recommend while going to this conference, you definitely want to register ahead of time. I didn't know I needed to do that, so I had to write my own name on my name tag, and People kept having to lean over to read my horrible penmanship, and there's a 50-50 chance that most of them don't actually know what my name is because my penmanship is horrible.
Yeah, and my only recommendation for any kind of organizer of any kind of academic conference is let's start putting our name tags on both sides of the piece of paper. I get that maybe some of us like for our name tags to be flipped over, and I get that. But as a student, you find yourself having some really silly conversations. You're like, who are you? I don't know who this is. Then they flip it over and you're like, oh,
wow, you're actually famous. That is so embarrassing for us.
You're a big deal, and we just talked about something ridiculous, which is kind of like the fun part about it, because it's taking your academic, mentors and these great scholars that you've basically been brought up to understand their work, basing your career off of it, and you're talking about food trucks and dance
how
moves,
good the lobster is.
How good the lobster and tater tots are. And it's a great thing for students to witness and understand, and to motivate you to participate in these events and keep them going, and make sure that we're continuing this legacy of scholarship to make our field be what it has been and better.
So I know we've been harping on this since we've been driving a solid hour and a half through Atlanta, give or take. But accessibility and opportunity are two things that keep archaeology going.
Absolutely.
Create opportunities for yourself. Make connections. Go to the conferences. I know it is exhausting to go to the conference. It is very exhausting
and
to
expensive.
Go to the conference. Oh, look, there's a police person.
Yeah,
let's not do that.
Hello, sir.
But he's not pulling us over, so that's okay. So that was thrilling for a solid 30 seconds.
Scared me a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
So we're out of the chaos of Atlanta now, so we can kind of get back into the academic side of things.
Yeah.
So I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Ian Brown, because he finally got to receive his Lifetime Achievement Award in Southeastern Archaeology. I believe, to my understanding, it was won last year, but the actual physical award itself will finally make its way to him soon. And so I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Ed Henry for the C.B. Moore Award. Great job, everyone. And Autumn, you got recognized. We didn't go to the business meeting. We were at the student reception. Shout out to the Baked Potato Bar. And
we love the Baked Potato Bar.
The Baked Potato Bar was amazing. So thank you to, I forget who donated that, but that was really awesome. I think UNC did a really, really good job with the conference, and everyone was super friendly. It was a super smooth process. I didn't see the back work of what went on. So if there were hiccups or snags, it did not show on our end.
We weren't privy to the behind the scenes stuff that makes SEAC work, but we don't want to mess with success. What they did was fantastic. So
yeah,
we want them to keep doing it as they are, but we also want to do what we can to help them do it.
Yeah, and shout out to Dr. Lambert and all of the sexual harassment folks. It is becoming such a safe environment having you guys around, and it feels great. And the poster, from what I hear, was amazing. Again, I did not get to make it all the way around, but I think that this is catching on in a really big way, and I think it's so important and such a good model to follow for even the smaller conferences. We don't always want to talk about it, but nonetheless, it makes it a more accessible place for everyone, especially people from small universities who don't travel in big groups. It's good to have allies within the conference, even if you just need, moral support. It's good to have that space, and I'm glad that they're reserving it.
Even us at the Alabama Archaeological Society, we're an incredibly small organization compared to SEAC, but we've had the sexual harassment talk. We've instituted a sexual harassment policy. It's a great policy. We want people to show up at our events, and we want them to feel safe and secure while they're there, but we also want them to get educated and have fun while they're there.
Right, and at UAB, we've implemented their work into our field school process, so I think that is a really, really great way to, start talking about these things. Make it a comfortable conversation. The more you talk about it, the more easily people are willing to share information with you or speak up when they need to. So I think I was really excited when Dr. Downs told me that we were implementing that in our field school process, and I hope to see everyone implementing that into their planning for field work.
Yes.
So back to me, I suppose. So who else did we see give talks that we enjoyed? We played a really cool game of darts last night with a lot of really cool people that I don't.
Yeah, that was kind of a random thing.
I don't want to name drop, but we had a really good time.
We're not going to name drop, but we did play darts with some very academic people, and we're like, what we were trying to do is not geek out in the presence of people that we highly respect in the field, and we failed miserably. We giggled and screamed because we were dancing and playing darts with people we
respect greatly.
We hold in the highest regards.
But nonetheless, I was kind of sad. Like, some of my Louisiana folks were hanging back for an extra night, and I kind of wish we would have planned to do so. I think the little wind down afterwards where you can sit down like we are now and kind of hash through everything and like talk about how we felt about this paper, how we felt about that paper. I think that's a really cool thing. And I think planning in the future to have it where as students we can sit down and do the same thing could be a really cool thing for us to do. I know the student reception, I guess, could work for that. But
yeah, the student reception would be great for that.
It would.
The main obstacle we've had for doing things like SEAC and creating more opportunities for people is a fairly loud and obvious one. COVID has really put the squeeze on archaeology, actually any science that goes on in the field where you have to work with a tight-knit group of people for an extended period of time.
Right, and not a lot of people hit on that, but some people did, and like Dr. Ledoux, and then they did the public archaeology of COVID. Was that FPAN?
I think so.
If not, you did a great job, and I'm super sorry for mislabeling, citing you, but the paper and the presentation on public archaeology and the effects of COVID, that was really good.
Yeah, that was a great, it's something that everyone knows is affecting what we do, but people don't know how to go about, I guess, getting around it or creating an environment that everyone feels healthy in.
Right.
Where we can actually get some work done for an extended period of time. A day or two might seem like a lot of time, but when you're doing work in the field, a day or two honestly isn't enough to get really anything done.
Right.
You're spending that 2 days digging holes and then driving back and forth to a site.
Very true. I was very grateful to have been able to work through COVID because I work on a site where we don't have a lot of people. So it's typically just me and one or two other students. And so I enjoyed being able to continue my work with so many people, especially our Mesoamerican friends. They had to completely reconfigure their entire thesis or dissertation work. It was dramatic for a lot of people. And I think these conferences do a really good job of highlighting that. Like, some people had career changes and are trying to get their careers off the ground and can't hold field schools. Or like, I know in Alabama, we had the big problem with our students. Alabama, Birmingham, we tried to hold field schools, but when those field schools don't work out and you're graduating, we need a way to provide the right opportunities for students in need and take care of our own. So that's kind of where we got the idea, at least if I remember right, that's where the idea came to start getting the student network up and try to have a communication network between our sites and our archaeologists, our state archaeologists, our societies, all of our students that need this, research or field work, lab work, whatever, that we know how to get it for them regardless of what happens. So I think in a lot of ways, COVID did a good job of telling us where our weak spots are. And
it reminded us that there's always room for improvement.
Right. I think it will end up making it a stronger group, a stronger network if we just, keep the momentum going and keep it positive. And
it's been a challenge for everybody, but it also presents new opportunities to make up for where our field is weak. Like, we all have different things going on, and a lot of organizations, communication is always an issue. That's not just us. That's a lot of different fields have issues with communication. So it's reminded us that we need to stick together and talk to each other, and it helps us get things done and helps us get things back in order. And order is something that is in short supply for the past 2 years, even though it seems more like an eternity now.
Right, and I really have enjoyed seeing all of the public-facing folks talking about their struggles with COVID and how it's affected their work. And Zoom and how everything's changed. So shout out to FPAN. I thought y'all did a really, really good job of making things work and keeping everybody in the loop and staying connected. Also Virginia, I was really impressed. I worked up there, I volunteered with a UNC student up in Virginia, and they just had such a great community of advocationalists and academics working together, getting it done, preserving their sites. And I think that if we just start communicating better and understanding how we're all functioning and not functioning, that we could be more collaborative with all these different societies and help keep them going, even through hardships like COVID and things like that. So hopefully this is going to continue to be a really positive thing. And if you're interested, make sure and reach out to either Daniel or I. We're on Twitter, the Alabama Archaeological Society Student Advisory Council. And you
can also send messages to our website, the Alabama Archaeological Society website. The link for it is on the channel, but I'll post it again in the description to help you find it. Yeah. And it is 113 miles to Birmingham.
Whoop, whoop. So is there anything else you want to talk on? Did we hit all the points that we sat in traffic and we're like, these are good points, we should talk about them?
Well, you've mentioned you work at Poverty Point a lot. What do you like most about working there?
I love the people that I work with. So anyone not familiar with Poverty Point, it's a layered archaic earthwork site in northeast Louisiana, and it is an incredible site. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. If you haven't been, please come. It is wonderful. I love working out there. Dr. Diana Greenlee, the station archaeology program, the Park Service, everyone out there is really great. Their interpretation's wonderful. There are a lot of cool opportunities to get involved with different things in the park. The night hike is super fun. I should know if that's already happened or is about to happen. Sorry, Mark. But if it hasn't, go. If it has, go to the next one. So I just love working out there. It's just a really special place. I think one of my favorite things about presenting a poster on Poverty Point were the amount of legendary people that would come by to talk to me about their time at Poverty Point and what it was like for them to experience such a special place and get the opportunity to work somewhere so special. And it's such a shared feeling of being able to, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's just a really special place, and I would encourage anyone to come out. And I also just want to give a shout out to all of our volunteers that helped with our recent project. We worked on for anyone that didn't attend SEAC and that didn't see my poster that just sent to everyone I know, and I'm sorry, but I loved it. And so basically what we did, we went back into a 1991 legacy collection that we've been working on for about 18 months, and we were re-bagging, re-curating all of the artifacts and getting everything up to standard. We re-bagged 55,000 artifacts, and we just started to see some really cool patterns and things, in the data that indicated we don't have enough information to really figure out what was going here. We didn't get a final report, so we decided to reopen two. They had 16 2x2 units on Ridge 2 Northwest, and we decided to reopen two of them to try to get some more data to figure out what they were seeing so we could, wrap it up, provide a final report, and tie up the loose ends that were left behind in that project. And in doing so, it was just a really incredible experience to work somewhere like Poverty Point and get to non-destructively go back into an excavation site and see, for the past 18 months, we had been curating all of these artifacts and seeing all of these field notes from students and the field professors, and you see it with your own eyes and you're able to connect the dots. And then we had some really awesome specialists that came out, Dr. Sunita Dahlin and Sarah Sherwood and George Hawley, and of course Thurman Allen and Lady, the field dog, and just so many other people, our wonderful volunteers. They came out and did such a great job. But also Dr. Greenlee, Diana Greenlee, is the station archaeologist there, and she has just really taught me a wealth of information about the site, and her implementation of this public archaeology project was just a really cool experience, and I'm really thankful to have participated in it. And it was an honor to present on it at SEAC and have the conversations I had with so many really great archaeologists. I also want to say this was a really great conference. Everybody was super, on top of things. I think everyone was really excited to be back in person.
Yeah, that was one thing, I noticed people were just so excited to be, outside of their lab, outside of their classroom, and back meeting and talking to people that they hadn't seen in person in 2 years probably.
It's been a while. I know that the conference was online last year, but I have small kids at home, so I was in survival mode going through grad school with 2 kids. There was just no way that I could do the online conferences. As much as I wanted to, there's no way for me to concentrate when I have 2 kids at home and I'm trying to do my work. It didn't work for me, so I'm happy to have reconnected. But I know you went to the SEAC virtual student meetups, and you said that you loved it, right?
Yeah, so SEAC started doing these little social hours over the summer. It was the first Friday of every month, and they would break us off into 4 or 5 little conference rooms on Zoom, so we could all, stay connected, talk about what was going on, talk about how. So the idea behind the Student Action Committee came from this. So a lot of students that I talked to said because of COVID, their field schools and their field opportunities were being canceled because of the safety issue. So we decided to come together to build a network that people know where the field work is in case they needed to meet graduation requirements, PhD requirements, master's requirements, whatever.
Even figuring out what grad school you want to go to during COVID, you can't go and visit things. So the idea of making all of these things virtual really makes it more accessible. And honestly, I hope it continues. As a person with small children, things come up at the last minute, and sometimes it may be difficult to leave town for a few days and go do the work that you need to do. So I really like the idea of having I don't know if anyone's talked about this, but I kind of would love to, having certain sessions that are all virtual or recording sessions to some degree, and having people that have memberships have access to them. I think that's a really great way to make it accessible for everyone, and then take the cost into it. SEAC is one of the more affordable conferences, but if you don't have a university that's reimbursing you or that, is supportive of it, which I think we're all really grateful and thankful that we do have programs for the most part that are super supportive. If you don't, that really puts you at a disadvantage, especially for students. And if you're not presenting, if they don't have incentive to support you, you are at the mercy of your friends, letting you tag along or, whatever your abilities are. So I think
that is one reason I insisted on putting this show on YouTube, because YouTube is in fact free.
It is. YouTube is free.
It is extremely free.
Although back in my day, YouTube didn't have commercials, and I'm really bothered by that.
I've watched episodes of the show, and I've had several people tell me that they don't have commercials during our show.
No, I actually have not seen commercials during your show, but for other shows,
I guess I should be proud of that.
Happening?
I guess I should be proud of that, but I should be kind of insulted that YouTube doesn't want to monetize what we do.
So basically, watch more of Archaeology After Dark, but don't get carried away, because we don't want them to start monetizing our work.
Yeah, we don't.
Your work.
We don't want that.
It now.
Well, if they did start monetizing it, all the money would go to the Archaeological Society. So
that's right. Shout out to the AAS.
So, as all of you know, we wrap this show up with career advice, things you'd recommend people do to get started. Marsha, what would you recommend for people who want to get started in archaeology?
My first response to that would be, surround yourself with good people who are trustworthy and collaborative. I think the biggest problem that I have seen in my, short life of this field is the gatekeeping and the animosity and the turf wars. Don't do that. It's ridiculous. We're all nerds.
It doesn't help anyone.
We're all nerds. We all want to participate in these things. Make space for each other. You do not own an archaeological site. You do not own this information. We don't do it. We do own the information technically. Yeah. I'm just saying, don't feel like...
Don't hoard the information.
You should work with each other. We're all building off of each other and working with each other. Be collaborative. Don't think that just because someone else is better at this than you are at that means y'all shouldn't work together. You can make each other's work stronger. Don't feel don't be so intimidated that you're afraid to work with people. Learn, be open-minded, be accepting of one another. Be nice. Just be nice.
Be excellent to one another, like Bill and Ted.
Please just be nice. We don't need, any anger and meanness in our field. I think we need to learn to work together. and also be open-minded and adaptable. COVID, I think, has taught us all that we need to be really adaptable into the situations that we're in. So work together, lean on each other, be there for each other, be good advisors that create good, healthy, environments for your students, and make good choices. Make corrections when needed, and just be good to each other and kind and ethical, and be inclusive of the communities that you're working with, and know that it is an honor to do what we do, and don't let your ego get so big that you stop being a nerd about this stuff, because we all are, and we all just need to nerd out together and enjoy what we do.
So I think that's going to wrap this up. We're getting close to the Alabama state line. I say that optimistically. I know that's not true. But so stay tuned. I've learned a lot. I've met some really great people. I'm going to have them invited onto the show. So be sure to make sure you subscribe, like, whatever, so that you stay notified on what I'm doing, so I can know what you're doing, and then you can talk to me, I can talk to you, we can talk to each other, we can talk to some new people. Just go meet some strangers. I'm okay with that.
We really love to talk.
We do like strangers too.
We do. We made a lot of friends. We met a lot of strangers at SEAC, but also made a lot of new friends.
Yeah, they're not strangers anymore. They're friends now. We have their cell phone numbers.
Indeed we do.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, guys.